Let me quickly kind of go through some of the statistics of World War I for you by the numbers here. Look at the cost of the war. You get millions of dead or wounded soldiers. You have all kinds of reconstruction. I mean, parts of France were gone. Some of these cities were just gone. You have to build back that. Who's going to pay for that? And you had a number of governments collapse in unrest. You had the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the German Empire, Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and the Russian Empire. So that caused all kinds of change and upheaval in Europe. Let's go through here just some, kind of playing with numbers here. You got two officers of General Pershing's staff, who was the top U.S. general, won the Nobel Peace Prize. Does not make a lot of sense. 12 aces had more than 50 aircraft down. One cruiser sank 23 Allied vessels. You had 24 nations declare on war on one of the more of the central powers. Most fighter planes only had 50 seconds of machine gun fire, so anytime you see a movie where they're just holding it down for 20 seconds is unrealistic. They would fire in short bursts. The distance fired by the German Paris gun, maybe 80 miles. 103 German airships bombed Great Britain. 123 Zeppelins were produced by Germany. He had 200 estimated Allied soldiers that helped escape by the nurse before she was executed by the Germans. The 1,000, which is daily average calorie intake of a German adult. Towards the end of the war, they were really running out of food. 2,600 ships sunk by U-boats. You have 4,000 trains to mobilize the French army in 1914. 17,000 field artillery guns produced by France. First day of the Somme, 58,000 estimated British casualties. And now you're getting up into the truly large numbers. Almost 500,000 British in Commonwealth. That's Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, India, were either killed that were never found or identified. Their bodies were gone, or they ceased to exist. 500,000. You have another 500,000 that were killed and buried. So we're looking at a million dead for Britain. Some really big numbers. You're looking at about 7 million estimated maimed for life. That is, permanently wounded. 8 million civilians killed. And then we'll get into the influenza epidemic in another lecture. 8.3 million estimated combatants killed. So you're looking at really 16 million dead, including civilians. It's a lot of people. 19 million wounded soldiers. 21 million minimum deaths of the pandemic, which is the flu pandemic that came out. Looking at least 32 million artillery shells fired in the Battle of Verdun alone. We're looking at about 61 million soldiers total took part and mobilized in World War I. Now you're looking at $23 billion demanded that the Germans pay back, and 82 billion 400 million was the cost in 1913 dollars of this war. Now, looking if we could kind of graphically look at those numbers, sometimes this helps in terms of casualties. This is died. 16% of German soldiers died. They were mobilized. 38% wounded or missing. 10% taken prisoner, and 36% unharmed. So you really had a third of a chance of walking out of there unscathed if you fought for the Germans. Only 11% chance for the Austro-Hungarians. They had a lot more wounded and just about the same die, and quite a few taken prisoner. If you look at here, just overall numbers, how many were mobilized, how many dead, how many wounded. Germany had 1.7 dead, 1.7 million dead, and I think that is the high. Russia was second with 1.7 million dead, 5 million wounded. France, 1.3, and you go Austria-Hungary and Great Britain, 2 million wounded. And you got to go all the way down here to the United States. Here's the United States. Again, this was 126,000 dead, but that is in 10 months. So we averaged 12,000 a month. It's a lot of people because we put them right into the meat grinder as we were going along here. So in terms of dead, who'd you want to fight for? Who was totally unharmed? The United States. Basically 92% of the United States soldiers who took part in the war emerged unscathed. You have 3% died and 5% were wounded. Russia, whew, man alive, look at that. Only 21%. France and Britain. France, 27%. The main allies really, the French really took it. A lot of fighting was in France. Britain did pretty well. 65% got out of it alive. In terms of number mobilized, who had the most soldiers? Russia. And this is sort by number mobilized here. So I'm going to play with this data a little bit here, and then you got the Germany, Great Britain, and the United States is over here. If you look at the numbers that were dead. So this is now arranged in people that died. So Germans, Russians. That's looking at the red. So you look here. Here is the data. I'm just going to arrange it, number one on the left all the way to right, in whatever graph we're looking at here. Number wounded, Russia had the most wounded. France, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Great Britain. Percent dead out of the mobilized. That is, out of the soldiers that were mobilized, how many of those died? And really, it's Romania and France, and then Germany and Austria-Hungary. The United States is way over here. And percent dead, percent wounded. Again, France had the most wounded. Basically, half of the soldiers, you had a 50-50 chance of getting wounded if you fought for France. Lastly, the cost. Each dollar sign represents $10 billion. So Germany and Great Britain and France still cost us quite a bit of money, even though we were in it for not that long here. So after World War I, what were some of the issues? The war debt. The Germans had to pay them back, and it really hurt their economy. We'll get into that. There was fear of German strength. So Germany's military was limited, and they resented that. Nationalism, we had a bunch of new states get created, and then had some ethnic groups became minorities in these new states. They still had some nationalist problems. There were a new system of mandates afterwards, which added imperial rule, did not end imperialism after World War I. And the League of Nations was developed. It's actually President Wilson's idea to establish this league, but the United States did not join. We'll get into that in another lecture as well. This just gives you a bit of a statistical overview of World War I. You can look up online. There are a lot of these numbers are available. You can take a look and see kind of a little bit, let the data tell you a little bit about the problems of fighting and the repercussions.